Praise be to the blessed Zunki. How is everyone today? 2,000 points here versus Skaven. This is one of the most fun games I have played in a long time, so I'd love to do a battle report on it. Yes, it was casual play at a lower power level. I again brought this High Lord, Lord Venatelli today. He believes in discipline and taking lots of block infantry. Narratively, he never leaves Lustria. He's just a defender. I did take the Ruby Ring, becoming cogitation. This was before the Lore Familiar update, even though I sort of always believed in it, and I took Monsoon. Old Blood Antizen was here with his standard magic items. Let's get into it, because this might end up long. All right, deployment is always my favorite part of the game, and I had a pretty good strategy here, I thought. I felt like my infantry was going to be strong enough to hold the middle, and that's exactly what I was going to do. And the jungle swarms, because they were unbreakable, and he deployed his Doomwheel and his Screaming Bell near each other. That was my plan, was to get him out in there and just let him run his course. He's going to have to deal with 20 wounds, and it would take time, and hopefully I could get on top in the middle. And importantly, my big hitters, being my Troglodon, I know it's not a great monster, but I absolutely love the model, and it's painted. And my Old Blood would be able to strike out at whatever opportune targets poke his head. Meanwhile, I was pretty confident that Croxagore could take out that flank and start moving their way through it. By the time he was done over here, I would hopefully be on top of the game. Okay, all right. The image there took up. Okay, so here's what happened. We did move up. There was a little bit of magic back and forth. Now, what was really interesting here is his Doom Bell charged on his first turn and hit into my Jungle Swarms, and as I suspected, he was just stuck. Now, on top, turn 2 of my turn now, we'll open in with, he was trying to do some damage to the Troglodon. He'd done 1 wound, and it allowed me to flee. They started to shoot, and they didn't do any damage, so he knew he was in a bit of trouble here. His Rattling Gun took out some skinks, and they fled, but my Croxagore were there, ready to get shot next turn, but otherwise they were going to be able to get a charge off. Now, what started happening here, because my Troglodon was sort of here, I sort of blocked out my infantry. They couldn't really do anything in getting to combat, so the bit of positioning problems I was having. But then luck favored me, and on my dice roll here, I think I rolled like 4 6s or something. Of course, the swarms of poison, and I ended up actually taking out the Doomwheel, which I didn't expect, and following up. It wasn't a big follow-up, but it was a really big deal. And so, look, on his turn, my Troglodon was winning, but not by a lot, because it's not a great caster. It got flank charged. It lost, but I used Stubborn, so it only fell back in good order. And that was it, really. He shot. Oh, something I should mention too is on his first turn, he shot his Jezzails at my Slann. Now, my Slann had successfully cast the Walk Between Worlds spells. Fantastic high magic spell, lets me get in and out, control the range for my Becoming Cogitation. I was using the Troglodon to cast some of the Arcane Vassal. I think it was Fiery Convocation, which maybe didn't work. But the point is that he was ethereal, and I found out the Jezzails had magic attacks, which I hadn't expected. He shot off, and he did 3 wounds to the Slann, and I don't know what I'm going to do with this, is my whole plan. And it wasn't until turn 2 where I went to my opponent. The Temple Guard were there. Of course they were there. That's why I took them. And I completely forgot about the Guardian rule, used to be called Lookout Sir. Now, my opponent was gracious enough, because I'd roll ward saves on it and everything and failed, but the point is he was gracious enough to go, all right, remove 1 Temple Guard and take 1 wound back. That's as much as we can say probably would have happened. And so he ended up on having taken 2 wounds there. So I really need to get on top of those rules. But yeah, the Doom Bell had been taken out on his turn, and he rotated his clan rats a little here, which led to some interesting things. So on my turn, the Poison Wind Globadiers. Oh, everyone had failed. So because he'd flank charged, he tried to actually restrain on both units and failed both leaderships. So the Poison Wind Globadiers were in first, and I was still on 4 wounds. And then So I got this charge off, and I can't remember how, but they ended up, I don't know, off the board or something, and it all ran down, and I ended up facing that way, and like I wanted to, and took that left flank out, and felt in control. I flank charged the clan rats, although keep in mind I'm not going to disrupt because I am just a little, not much more than a horse. But I did win, and they, I think, gave ground. And they allowed my jungle swarms to charge the screaming bell, and this is fantastic because now I don't have to deal with impact hits, and I've taken him out of the magic. Now his Jezzails continued to shoot. Last turn, and he took another wound, so I'm now down to 2. But things were looking really good for me. I think I did a wound or 2 here. I got to dominate magic. My Temple Guard were completely blocked out of combat, really bad positioning. But here at least my Spearman managed to move up, and I got Fiery Convocation off because he couldn't dispel, and it absolutely decimated the. I think I just killed like 7 Storm Vermin or something along those lines. Okay, so then it was his turn, and he won combat, yes, over here, not by doing any damage from memory. Maybe he did a wound, but Aentazin then broke, rolled some really bad, and then fled. But I didn't mind too much. I figured he wouldn't be able to chase me, and I figured he would rally soon enough. The Jungle Swarms, because they're unbreakable, gave ground, and they did take oh yes, they gave ground because his clan rats charged there and got a whole bunch of extra bonuses and did a little bit more wounds to them. I mean, they are, toughness 2, nothing that hard. And so moving on to the start of my turn 4. So yes, I did manage to rally. So I charged, he fled. Again, my Kroxigor just charging down this thing, having no problems at all. I rallied Aentazin, and he came up here, getting in position for more fighting. My Spearmen rotated around, ready to take on this. When the Jungle Swarms were on 3 wounds. Now they charged, and I was really hoping he could stay alive for one more turn because that would take him out of movement. It would take him out of everything on his turn, and all I had to do was just get those 3 3 wounds. He only had like 5 attacks. But Jungle Swarms died, and that was that. Okay, so the bottom of turn 4. Now, I think I was so in control of this game right now, that I was nearly like ready to apologize to him. I think I might have done it around here on the next turn. I remember saying to him either at the start of this or at the end, or just end of the next turn, no, it was the next turn. I'll go over that in a sec. But look, so he charged in here. His impact hits just absolutely. He rolled like a 5 or a 6 on it, and he absolutely shattered the Spearmen along with his rank bonuses he was getting here. They didn't flee very far, and they got run down, and that was that for them. The Storm Vermin charge Aentazin, I think they might have. Yeah, I think they did a wound there, and so he was on 2. But I only gave ground, or maybe combat was locked in. The Troglodon won combat and ran them down, and I was just completely on top of this game. Now, the Troglodon had been taking wounds at this point. They'd been in combat. Every now and again, one would slip through. They're not the most hardy things. I think he was on 1 at this point. Yeah, he was on 1 wound. Okay, at the start of my turn 5, Aentazin. So my Temple Guard charge, and just to clip there, this allows me to absolutely break the Storm Vermin, and everyone pursues. Aentazin runs them down and ends up well over here on 1 wound. He took a wound in that Storm Vermin combat, thanks to initiatives. The Temple Guard followed up a little bit, and yeah, look, I remember saying to the opponent, like, I'd lost a unit at this point, and his army was nearly gone. We're gonna have to play on handicaps. Like, Skaven are just too bad. I can't really run much lower power level than this, and that's it. This template up here is obviously Monsoon, been trying to block line of sights and things along those lines from the Jezzails. Yeah, I was well and truly on top. Turn 5 rocks around. Now, his first thing, I know I'll don't say out of order, but Monsoon moves and he's screaming bells, and because I'm no longer within 3 inches here, despite being ethereal, his Jazals fire 4 shots. I believe they were hitting on fours, and I think he hit or fives, and he was hitting those fives and fours or 2 wound. I can't remember in what order, but with 4 shots, he does 3 wounds. 2 wounds, sorry, 2 wounds, which I have 2 wounds, and I fail both ward saves, and the Slan is dead. And what in order happened a month before that is he rolled a double 6 with his Screaming Bell. So everyone had to take a leadership test, otherwise they might take some damage. And everyone passed except Ienterson, my tough as old blood, who took a wound, and he was only had 1 wound left, and he was dead. And so, my Troglodon was on 1 wound because despite the fact all my characters were there, they weren't on that many wounds left. And in this one moment, bam, he's just straight back into the game. He flank charges the Temple Guard, but they are made of stern stuff. For starters, he rolls lower on impact hits, but also I have Stubborn and Shield Wall. And so they only going to give ground, and he ended up following up, and he's in for a difficult combat next turn, if there is one, because it's turn 5. And it turned out there was one. In fact, we weren't over to turn 7 in the end, turn 6 and 7. Not that I took photos of them all. Essentially, there was there was another regret here. Okay, so look, I discharge, he flees, his Jazals end up rallying at some point, so I don't get the victory points for them. His my Troglodon had to decide whether to charge or not on 1 wound. If I take him out, I have absolutely won. I ended up deciding to charge, and it was the wrong call. Look, I don't regret it much. Maybe I do a little, but it's a casual Friday night game. I want to see if my big guy can hit his big guy. Certainly if I was really, really wanted to win, I would have been happy to try to deprive him of the 400 victory points. But I didn't, and I paid the price. But that's not what I regret. Here's the bit that I regret. I moved my skinks up here, figuring he might fall back in good order. He might give ground. I want to be in the way. Maybe I can get him to take a wound. Maybe he's broken and I can charge him down next turn. Who knows what's going to happen? What happens? Yes, I win combat. Yes, he breaks, and I go to pursue, and I can't because I've blocked my guys from pursuing with the skinks. I literally rolled a higher dice roll than him on the pursue. I would have ran him down and won the game, but I didn't. Now, he rolls poorly on his leadership because like I said, it goes on for a few more turns, and his Screaming Bell never rallies, although it doesn't go off the border either. And that is how the game ends. Now, so it was very close. His Jazals were the only things left, and a fleeing Screaming Bell. Meanwhile, that Troglodon's dead. My Croxagore are good. My Temple Guard are good. His Clan Rats were still there and fine. Doing the numbers, the difference in victory points was I thought it was probably going to be a draw. And in fact, I thought if anything, I would be in front. There's a 109 point difference to him. So as we all know, 100 points is the cutoff for a draw. So he actually wins this game by essentially 9 victory points, which I was quite happy with because, boy, the old world is fun. With infantry, I just think it is, you play casual, the game works a lot better than, taking on 3 dragons or Bretonnian skirmishing knights or whatever the power thing is at the moment. I need to position myself better. I'm proud of my positioning. Not today. This is the first time I've run swarms, I think. I mean, I always looked at them and thought they were great, but since you have to take a block of Saurus, and I really play under 2,000 points a lot because they're Friday night games after work and we need to get them finished. I don't take them too often, and they really are fantastic Anvil unit. Get lucky on poison. I misused Ienterson. He should have been charging down with his big range and his skirmishing. He should have been charging down the Screaming Bell, the Doom Wheels, all that sort of thing, not getting the combat with ranks of Clan Rats. Maybe don't count your chickens on that charge with the Troglodon and apologising to your opponent and going on about how we're going to play in handicaps because your list is so good and then you end up losing. Or sometimes just play for points. I don't know. I was really happy with the way that game ended. Look, the only things I definitely regret forgetting the Lookout Sir or Guardian role. That was silly. Probably my Slam would have still been alive at the end of that game had I remembered. But my opponent was really good there. And yes, I definitely regret the positioning with those skinks. Signing off, guys. Play the old world. It is a fantastic game.